Wolfpack, what is up? Your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street, RotoStreetJournal.com. We read and feed you fantasy wolves here with your Week 7 rankings rundown. We are nearly halfway done with the regular season of fantasy football. I cannot believe it. It is flying. We do get that extra week this year. I know some NFL players are upset about that, but as a fantasy fan, why not make it last longer? With that extra week also comes a little added hope for those of you that might be 1-5 rolling around in the garbage right now. 0-6, still, I shouldn't give you false hope, but hey, you never know what could happen. As I've always said, there was that year when Odell Beckham was a rookie. I was 1-5. I won my league. So never quit. Keep fighting. You might be one waiver wire pickup away from saving your season. So let's dive right in, though, getting those Week 7 rankings going here for you guys, because bye week hell is upon us. We've got some crazy explosive offenses on bye here. We've got the Vikings, the worst of the offenses, and they're a pretty damn solid offense, as well as the Cowboys, the Steelers, and the Chargers. Just a lot of guys out of lineups. So a lot of us are going to need some desperation, gross ass plugins. Let's dive in and figure out who they are. But before we get there, of course, thumbs up helps us get out to more people. It would mean the world. If you like what you hear later on and you haven't already subbed, that would also be so greatly appreciated. So thanks for being here. I'm going to first, before we get into any rankings, we got to cover the Deshaun Watson latest, folks. Just about an hour before I went live, the news broke that Deshaun Watson is very much in serious talks. Well, not Deshaun Watson. The Texans are in serious talks that have intensified to real negotiations here with the Dolphins. A deal, according to John McClain, one of the best beat writers in the biz, says a deal could go down as early as this week. The deadline's coming up November 2nd. So what is that, like next weekend? So ultimately, there's only about 2 more weeks left anyways. I'd say this is the time to go out and get him. He's still only 12% rostered at this point. I dropped my kicker, for example. Let's see what happens between now and the end of the week. You could always cut him at the end of the week or find some trash that's just not going to be in your lineup anyways and get rid of him. But I think Deshaun Watson has to be rostered at this point. The upside is far too great. This guy led the NFL in passing last year. He would go into a Dolphin situation, not quite as juicy as what his Texans were last year, but not all that far off. Waddle's looking great. Gesicki's an awesome tight end. I mean, yeah, it is a downgrade in weaponry, but I don't think the weaponry really matters. He was getting it done with Will Fuller and then trash last year. Brandon Cooks, of course, pretty solid, but there was injuries throughout the lineup, and Watson continued to put up 300-plus yards a week. So I'd be very intrigued, of course, when you got the talent like this. Why not stash him to the Konami upside as well? The complication here is apparently the Texans have no interest. They, quote unquote, are not and never have been interested in a potential destination for Tua Tagovailoa. So ultimately, that is a big wrench because that's probably a huge bargaining chip. There's rumors that it's going to be a 3-way trade where maybe it's the football team, maybe it's the Steelers, who knows, but someone else is going to have to get involved, give up some collateral to get Tua so that the Dolphins can then make a package and go get him as well. Now the latest is that the Washington football team is not interested in Tua either. I don't see why too many teams should be all that interested. The guy has not put on all that much good tape since being drafted at 4th overall ahead of Justin Herbert. Huge mistake there. We will see, though. Stay tuned. Stash this guy immediately. See what you could get. Even if you don't need a quarterback, right? Big trade value should you get Deshaun Watson here. Alrighty, guys. I'm going to jump in now. Let me pull in the rankings. Let me know, as always, any questions you have. As always, I will get to them. We've been about 50 questions a show, and I absolutely love it. So let's continue the good times, guys. Get your questions on in. And again, thumbs up. Help us get out to more people. Shares. Drop us in a Facebook group. Whatever ways you can. Help us get out there. Retweets, heart button, all that good stuff would be so greatly appreciated. No surprise at the top here. Patty Mahomes facing off against the abysmal Titans. Giving up, the fifth most points to QBs as of right now. We just saw him get destroyed by Josh Allen, as does everybody, but still. Mahomes should have no problem shredding these guys, especially if Henry can continue to have 3 touchdown days and keep the heat on Mahomes, so he has to keep throwing. Kyler Murray against Houston. This is one where it's such a bad matchup that he should do plenty of damage early, but as we've seen with a lot of quarterbacks, the Texans are only giving up, what is it here? The 13th most, so actually pretty generous. One of the better half matchups you could get, but still, once you're blowing them out already in the half, usually the quarterbacks take their the foot off the gas pedal. We'll see what Kyler Murray does, but should have no problem racking up rushing, racking up just tons of passing. We shall see how he does. And then Lamar against Cincy, he typically just destroys this team. Yeah, he's coming off a dud week, but Cincy certainly more competitive. I guess I shouldn't say more competitive than the Chargers, but they were just laid a complete egg. I imagine Cincy, it is at home in Baltimore. I don't know. I have a feeling my gut Lamar is going to get back to one of those beautiful 300-yard passing, 100-yard rushing, multiple touchdown day. No reason to have this guy anywhere but your top 3, in my opinion. Not far behind, Matthew Stafford, who returned to Detroit. Do you even call it a revenge game? He's probably stoked to be out of there. It wasn't like they really wanted him gone, but you got to imagine he's going to light up his old team. No doubt about it. Another 4 touchdowns. Ho-hum. Matt Stafford just killing it all year. Tom Brady against Chicago. He has a 1 below the experts here, but I wouldn't read too much into that. I mean, he's just like Stafford, 4 touchdown day. Probably a good bet as anybody to have 3+ touchdowns any given week. Chicago has been okay on the defensive side of the ball. They're giving up, let me just double check this. I thought it was the 17th, but no, 24th. So, and they limited Rodgers a little bit, but then he ran one in and still put up 25 points. So it's not a matchup that they have to avoid. Brady's going to be more than fine, as will Jalen Hurts. The guy can play like complete dog mess and still put up. He hasn't been below 20 points yet this year. It's maybe the highest floor in fantasy, no matter how bad it looks. Look at this. Everything above 20. 22 is his lowest output on the season. He's never been worse than a top 10 QB this year. Even last week against Tampa Bay was horrendous on a real life perspective and still put up 2 rushing touchdowns, QB5 in fantasy. Just beautiful stuff from him. And then Aaron Rodgers, I mean, what's there to say? He's getting Washington, who's given up the most points to signal callers so far this year, the most yards, the most passing touchdowns, 2.7, nearly 3 touchdowns a game, 2 QBs. He is going to eat. It's only a matter of just everybody else above him has even better matchups. I might bump him up ahead of Brady, though. I don't know. Those 6 guys, your high-end QB ones. And then you get into big drop-off, as we said. Bye week hell, lots of important QBs. Dak, Justin Herbert, even Kirk Cousins off your list this week. So Tua Tagovailoa. I can never say this guy's motherfucking name. Tua. At my 8 +5 ECR, he is getting Atlanta, giving up the 7th most points to QBs, highly generous to the position. Also, Atlanta has been playing better themselves. Shootout potential, assuming that Tua is even the quarterback come Sunday. We will find out as we go, but should he be? He's one of my favorite streams, only about 20% rostered right now. Heineke blew up in my face as a big recommendation last week, but Tua, I absolutely love the guy. Joe Burrow on the road against Baltimore makes me a bit nervous, especially seeing Herbert get shut down the way he did. This is more not faith in Burrow, but more so just lack of other options. I don't think Baltimore secondary is all that great. Humphreys is, of course, fantastic, but beyond them, you can get deep on the secondary. But it's sketchy to me. I do think Sam Darnold against the Giants team, giving up the 6th most points to QBs, great get right spot for a guy that look at the numbers. First 3 weeks was number 5 in fantasy points, 19, 20, 25, 34, rather through the first 4 weeks, crushed against Dallas. Since then, pretty abysmal, pretty mediocre. 9 and 16s, I guess, not horrible. So I think Sammy Darnold, maybe I'm going to bump him ahead of Burrow. I think this is a great get right spot for the guy. They're going to get at least 20 fantasy points for him. Against a pathetic, abysmal defense there. I do like Matt Ryan a lot, though. He's also, these past 2 games, seemed to get it together quite nicely. He's had the right matchups, 29 and 22 fantasy points, been a top 12 quarterback for both of those weeks. The matchup remains right, though. Dolphins, the 10th most points to signal callers coming up this week. I do think he's going to have a nice day out there in a lot of waiver wires as well. Derek Carr, first game without Gruden, gets right back to his over 300 yards, 340 to be exact, this past weekend. He gets Philadelphia. Could we have a shootout? Maybe. Philly never seems to hold up their end of the bargain. It's always gross until the last quarter, and then Hurts just scrambling around and making things happen, and then it gets exciting. Wish we could have that the whole game. I still think Carr, a solid streamer option in this bye week hell that we have reached. I think another good bet for 300 or so yards. Philly is right along 21st in terms of quarterbacks points allowed, but nothing special. They've given up some decent days through the air. They did Hill Brady to a decent total there. And a guy you can see I'm lower on, Ryan Tannehill. The matchup is certainly right. 2nd most points to QBs for Mr. Tannehill. The production, that's certainly not right. When was the last time he had a really meaningful game? 24 and 24. Quarterback 24-24. 8 was really decent, obviously. 17, 22, 19. He's only had 1 game above 20 fantasy points. Now, Kansas City should present that great opportunity to do so. Julio banged up. We also know if as long as they can just ride the steamroller, the tractocito, Mr. Derrick Henry, they sure as hell will. So I'm not sitting here all that thrilled about Mr. Tannehill this week. A little bit lower than ECR. Granted, he could also have 3 fucking touchdowns. Like, you never know against that bad defense. And then we get into like do you really have to start these guys? Not so mad about Jameis Winston. Most pass attempts on the season last year. Neutral game. They played the fastest pace they had, airing it out a bit more. It seems like Peyton's finally letting his guy spread it around the yard. Spritz. Here we go, baby. Let him sling. No Michael Thomas back yet. A couple of weeks later, it sounds like, for his return. But still, Jameis Winston at Seattle, one of the worst secondaries in the league. I think he has every shot at a decent day here. 15th in terms of points allowed, the Seattle secondary. I think they can get it done here. Jameis Winston, Callaway, one of my favorite plays. We'll get to him in a bit. Justin Fields, if it's ever going to happen on the fantasy point of view, it'd be against Tampa Bay, giving up the 4th most points to QBs. They're clearly going to need their points. And a negative game script. Could this guy finally get it going? We saw some signs of life this last week. I think it was 13 fantasy points. I mean, first game in double digits, 14. Ooh, QB 18. I do think this is the best narrative he's had, similar to last week where they're going to need to keep the air under the ball. And he ran for 43, a season high 43 yards. Could see some more of that happening. We just saw Jalen Hurts running for 2 scores. Don't be shocked if Justin Fields has a similar touchdown or 2 on the ground. Daniel Jones, Carolina, not an easy matchup. And now Stephon Gilmore is likely back, coming off a big turnover day. I don't know if I love him. I also don't know if I love Taylor Heineke. I should. Green Bay's secondary completely banged up. But what a dud last week. Kansas City, again, the 2nd most points allowed, and he just lays a complete egg. Wasn't feeling good about that. I'll probably bump him above Fields and Jones, though, the more I think about it. He did have, heading into last week, 3 or 4 games above 20 points, 3 games as a QB 12 or better. So there is a narrative for him to get it right. But I just don't love it myself. We will see. I don't even hate Carson Wentz as a streamer. San Fran has been okay, but they don't really have anybody that sexy in their secondary, San Fran. They are ranking, where are they on this list? 49ers. 11th in points allowed, and that's after holding Kyler Murray to a decent total. So decent stream there for Carson Wentz coming off a multi-touchdown day. I think they're going to need to throw to keep pace with Jimmy Garoppolo, who I also don't hate as a streamer against Indianapolis. That secondary is atrocious. I know they just stopped Davis Mills, but that's Davis Mills. They can get destroyed each and every given week. And remember, we just saw Lamar Jackson have like 50 fantasy points against him. Now, I know Jimmy's no Lamar, but he can get it done. Mac Jones also coming off his big. Let's look at Jimmy G's totals just to see when the full games. Your 20s. Yeah, he's pretty unappealing, but 2 QB leagues, you can do worse. Mackie Jones coming off his best game. Really wasn't that valuable, though. 16. It looked okay, but still. I don't know about that. And you got Goff, Rams, revenge game narrative. First game back in LA. I mean, he has really tapered off since the beginning of the year, though. 30, 19, 7, 9, 9. So single digits in 3 of his last 4. Not what you're looking for. And then you just got grossness. I mean, if you have to roll around this crap, might as well make Case Keenum your guy and get some Thursday night action. But hopefully you're not rolling around in that garbage. Let's get on to running backs, guys. And again, just a reminder, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up button, helping us get out to more people, sharing us out, retweets, all that good stuff, dropping us in groups would be so greatly appreciated. Let's get on into your week 7 running back rankings. Looks like we got about 10, 15 questions. Let's get more in here, folks. Let me know what set starts I can help you answer. Derrick Henry against Kansas City. You're clear. You're far away. Number 1, 10 touchdowns on the season already. And we're only at week 7. I mean, the guy is on pace for, I think, 2,200 yards right now, 25 touchdowns, like 500 touches. And if anybody's going to hang up and like actually continue that throughout a year, it's Derrick Henry, a guy that's built like an absolute Mack truck. Jonathan Taylor and Alvin Kamara in my top 3 as well. Taylor is just absolutely cooking these last few weeks. So there's nothing but love here. 31 snaps compared to just 11 for Hines. More routes run than Hines. More targets. Everything is coming up usage-wise for Jonathan Taylor. It still was only about, 16 touches last week, so he's not getting that crazy workhorse treatment. But San Fran, not the defense they were last year in years past. I do think they can be had. Darrell Henderson's right there, though. Sony a little bit banged up, so he might be looking at 30 touches against a Detroit team that's giving up far and away the most points to running backs, already at nearly 120 yards per game on the ground, touchdown a week. He's going to feast. There's no doubt about that one. He hasn't been below running back 20. He hasn't had below 15 fantasy points all year. the mid-round steal, the running back dead zone, the dreaded running back dead zone. This guy has laughed in that face and been the ultimate zombie within that red zone, the dead zone, and just crushed it. Aaron Jones against Washington. It's nothing like crazy with Washington. Ninth most points allowed. We just saw Darrell Henderson have 2 touchdown day. He certainly could have a great day. It's just a matter of liking these other running backs just a bit more, and then Mixon. This is actually kind of a decent defense against the pass, against outside boundary receivers. They're giving the 12th most points to running backs, though. Mixon right back in there with the highest target share he's seen since week 5 of last year, 20%. I think you can get some good work out of him. Then you get to tier 2. So those are like your high-end RB1s. These are like your lower-end RB1s, elite RB2 options. DeAndre Swift on the border of that tier 2. Maybe he should even get bumped up there, given that he's really starting to separate from Jamal Williams. 41 snaps compared to 19 for Williams. He's had a touchdown in, 4 straight weeks? It's been pretty dang good. Pretty dang good. 19 and 15. Yeah, 2 straight weeks. 3 of his last 4, he's been 15 or more. 20 or more. He's been very solid. You can see his game logs here. 20, 10, 27. One little dud there. Tougher matchup, but he's getting it done. Usually happens in the fourth quarter just to make you sweat a little bit, but he's scoring every single week. The Rams have been sneaky, not that great against the run. 18th in points allowed, just middle of the pack there. You do get Cordarrelle Patterson coming off a game where he finally saw more carries, 14, compared to Mike Davis. You got to love this guy. I mean, the ultimate waiver wire pickup. Many leagues have him as wide receiver eligible as well. Get him in at wide receiver 3, get him in at running back 2. I don't care. Just get him in your lineups. Miami's given up the 4th most points to running backs. It's just a smash spot of all smash spots. Get Cordarrelle Patterson in your lineups. You really don't. I don't know how I get questions about this guy each and every week. Lock him in. Leonard Fournette right there among the best values of the year. Facing Chicago, played nearly 80% of the snaps. Running, the key here is he's actually running more routes now than Gio Bernard. That was the rub that's going to make these guys ugly. Bernard becomes the 3rd down back, and then you got Ronald Jones nibbling the cheese, and it's just, well, not so fast. Leonard Fournette is the every down back. He comes out when he needs a breather, and that is it. Chicago, okay against the run, 21st in terms of points allowed. Not a great matchup, but Fournette a good bet for a touchdown each and every week, a handful of receptions at this point. Value is clear. Chuba Hubbard has seen 80% or more of the carries in every start, and now he gets the Giants team giving up the 7th most points to running back. You got to love that matchup. Starting to see his target share go up a little bit each week, too. He'll smash this team. He's going to find the end zone. He's going to have around 100 total yards. Great play, as is Darrell Williams. Tennessee, actually better against the run than they are the pass, 22nd in terms of points allowed, but, we just saw Darrell Williams get 2 touchdowns. That's the joy of this offense. For whatever reason, they don't ever want to give him to Clyde Edwards-Helaire when they get in close. But now that Darrell Williams is the guy, let's hand it to him. 21 carries, the clear lead back, well over McKinnon. And I think they could get an easy early lead to bleed that clock. You do have to love Damian Harris this week, getting the Jets coming off a 100-yard TD day against a pretty good Cowboys run D. Now gets the Jets giving up the 2nd most points. He already had a pretty big day against the Jets, if I'm not mistaken. 13 fantasy points. So I guess not insane, but with a running back 17. Now that they're back at home, I think he's going to churn some more. Just monitor his injury. He did get knocked out in the 4th quarter, but he did return the game. I imagine it's nothing serious, given that he came back. Then you got James Conner, one of the best bets for a weekly touchdown. And certainly, he's facing Houston. Ever since I cut him, I believe he has 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns. And last week did not find the end zone, 8 points, but still okay. That's what it is, a touchdown or bust. But against Houston, pretty damn good bet that he's going to find the end zone, the 8th most points allowed. 2 running backs, Josh Jacobs, Philly, sneaky bad against running backs, 6 most points allowed. When Jacobs is in there, he's going to get a touchdown. That's kind of the law at this point. 2 touchdowns, 0 that one game against the Chargers, touchdown. So 3 or 4 games, he scored at least once. 17, 15, and 15 across those games. Top, 18 running back all those weeks. Just a solid play against Philly. Very solid play, certainly in bye weeks. Guy that I'm clearly higher on than the ECR is Dearness Johnson, 10 spots higher than him. My Hail Mary of the week. Denver, yes, very good run D. Not the easiest of matchups, 28th points allowed. They have no other option, though. Chase Keenum's at quarterback. They're going to want to hand this ball off. And he's scored, averaged well over 5 yards a clip. His one game where he got more than 10 carries, he had 95 yards on 10 touches there. He can catch the ball. I do think Felton will be pretty heavily involved. I think we're going to get a nice 80 yards and a score out of this guy, though. You can't really pass up on 15-plus touches when we hit bye-week hell of this nature, even in a Case Keenum-led offense. I like Dearness to find the end zone and have himself a decent day. Eli Mitchell, last time out, played over 80% of the snaps, well ahead of Trey Sermon in one of the most productive run schemes in the league. No need to overthink this one. Indy is good against running backs, 29 points allowed, but it's Eli Mitchell in a good scheme. Yeah, he's the guy. I don't know how productive he was. I know he was the snap leader. Yeah, only 7 points. So like, maybe I'm overrating him a little bit here in a tough matchup, but I just love the usage. I do think Booker's a great bet to bounce back. Not that Carolina's like an awesome smash spot. In fact, they've given up the fewest points running backs. We did just see Dalvin Cook kill him. That was Dalvin Cook, though. We can't say Booker is going to be doing that. Nonetheless, he didn't have a great game from a fantasy points perspective last week. And of course, I know that's all that matters, right? He did still play 80% of snaps, so 80% of the touches, most of the routes run. Didn't find the end zone this past week, but as we know, he has scored 11 touchdowns across 11 games with 12 or more carries. He's going to get 12 or more carries this week. I think this is the week he finds the end zone for you. I do like Sanders, who's played over 80% of the snaps in back-to-back weeks, getting a Raiders team that has given up, where are they right now? 13th, so pretty generous to the run. I think he could have a big week, Miles Sanders. Finally, you hear the mock cheers from the Philly faithful. They want this guy fed, and he deserves it. Mike Davis coming off his best game of the season. I do think it's the Cordarrelle Patterson show. That doesn't mean I think Mike Davis will be kept out of the end zone. A good bet for at least a score this week, probably 40 yards, 50 yards to go over it. In this week with these types of running backs on bye, that's worth a top 20 play, in my opinion. Gibson, big question mark. I don't know if any news is broken since the last time I saw overview. He missed practice. We don't have any news yet how the MRI went. A concern, though. Absolutely a concern. Green Bay can be run upon, the one of the bottom half in DVOA. I think that's going to be Jarrett Patterson this week. I think they're going to rest Gibson. They have a bye in, 2 more weeks here. I could see him getting shut down for a couple of weeks, get the bye, and then with Ryan Fitzmagic back, they just kind of get the gang back together, let this guy get healthy. That's just pure speculation. I have no insider access, of course. Just a guess on my end. Collins, another one you have to monitor. We're getting kind of into the range of you must monitor these guys. If he plays against New Orleans, yes, New Orleans is very good against running backs, 24th in terms of points allowed, but Collins against the Steelers, who were 26th, even harder matchup, just had over 100 yards, touchdown, 20 fantasy points in PPR leagues. A good spot, in my opinion, as the feature guy. You got Chase Edmonds against Houston, -7, a little bit lower on him. Yes, Houston, you can smash him, but this is an absolute definition of a James Conner script, not a Chase Edmonds script, who has really taken a back seat since getting dinged up. If you look here, 3 and 7 points. Not good. Looks explosive on the work he gets. Just isn't seeing a ton of work. I do really like McKissick, and he'll get an even bigger bump if Gibson's out. Especially, I think anyways, this is kind of the McKissick game. We just saw him get 8 catches, 8 and also 8 carries, over 100 total yards on that. Was the running back, I believe, 15 last week? Yeah, look at that, 15. So running back 17, 15 fantasy points rather. But you can see here, it's really been either really good hit, really big miss with McKissick. 1, 5, and 1 on the dud weeks, 18, 14, 15 when he gets the time. And this, anybody can tell you why this would be a J.D. McKissick week with Green Bay, likely to put up a lot of points and a lot of points early. And especially should Antonio Gibson miss the game, he would go up into my top probably 16 running backs there, right ahead of Eli Mitchell. Then you get into do you have to use the guys? I mean, Gordon, Williams. If only Gordon could just get his ass out of here. I don't know if I should have him above Williams. That's probably a mistake. I think I bumped Williams a little too far down. Probably have him at 24, right below McKissick in that tier. But as good as he looks, 30-yard run, hurdling defenders, most yards after contact per attempt. Everything is checking the boxes in terms of a player. The usage just isn't there. And I don't know, I really thought Pat Shurmur by now, he typically turns his backfields over to a workhorse. It just hasn't happened. Carter was at his best the last time on the field. It was 13 points, 38 yards, touchdown, 20 receiving yards. Solid day. He's got 10 points or more in 3 of his last 4 games. Gross, but kind of usable. Pats are 20th against running backs. They're nothing special. Their linebackers blow. Damian Williams, is it him? Is it Khalil Herbert? I'd rather avoid this. I'd rather really avoid everybody here. You'd like to think Myles Gaskin against a bad Atlanta D would be usable, 10th most points allowed, but 25 snaps compared to 25 for Malcolm Brown, compared to more carries for Salvin Ahmed. I just don't even want to pretend like I know what's going on there. I don't hate Demetric Felton as a stash, maybe even a desperation flyer for those of you out there that's just like, I have absolutely nothing. Felton could be a decent option once we know more clarity on the Bucks guy. I mean, the Bears guys, and then also the Seahawks backfield. We can kind of figure that out. Seahawks are a backfield where you should stash like Penny, Dallas, because, Penny might not get activated, and then Collins is out, and suddenly DJ Dallas is looking at 20 touches on Monday night. I'd be stashing those guys because once you get down here, Stevenson may be a bet for the end zone. The Raiders guys are all like okay bets for the end zone, and they're all pretty much available other than Murray at this point. Murray did not practice today, so good luck. Maybe it's Tyson, maybe it's Freeman, maybe it's Bell, maybe it's all three like it was last week. I don't really want to mess with that. They were literally like dead even in terms of snap split. We'll see what happens. And then Jarrett Patterson is the last running back in terms of stashing, just in case we have a Gibson absence this coming week. And again, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up button, continue to get those questions in. Greatly appreciated. Sharing this on out, helping us grow as we now get into wide receivers. And this is a week where it is absolute smash plays at wide receivers. Adams facing the defense, giving up the second most points. Your number one receiver in fantasy already. I mean, Kupp is the highest scoring receiver, but come on, it's Adams. He's your number one guy each and every week, and now he gets the second most points allowed. He's going to destroy Washington. And then at the top of the list, Tyreek Hill, right there in anybody's top three receivers any given week, gets Tennessee giving up the most plays, giving up nearly 17 yards per catch. Oh, yeah. Both of those teams, the football team and the Titans, have given up huge plays routinely. I really like both those guys to go off. I like Cooper Kupp against Detroit, the worst secondary graded by PFF. Somehow, the ninth fewest points allowed to receivers. I think that's just teams getting up on them, bleeding clock. That could happen with Darrell Henderson, but let's be real here. DeAndre Hopkins against Houston returns home for the first time. Let's watch him just destroy this team. It's going to be a bloodbath. I think this guy is going to be highly motivated, and they're going to have no resistance in terms of peppering him with the rock. The Texans are okay against receivers. The 28th in terms of points allowed, so better than okay. Again, I think as a product of similar to the Lions, we don't need to keep throwing on you. I do think Cliff Kingsbury is going to want to do his guy solid, and we're going to get a 2-touchdown day out of Hopkins. Very high on Deebo Samuel this week. Indy, get him the 9th post to receivers. Deebo Samuel, look at the totals. I think he's had one bad week. 27 fantasy points, 13, 8, 32, and 15. Huge ceiling, very steady floor. What's not to love here in a great matchup? I think you're looking at another 15 to 20 points. If he's not on the main slate, I think that might be the Sunday night game. Otherwise, he'd be a DFS smash for me. DJ Moore, steady, solid. Giants, easy matchup. That's all there really is to it. Top 12 matchup for a top 12 weekly receiver. Easy in my top 6. But I might bump Calvin Ridley ahead, not because he's been good. I've been lowering him each and every week so far this year. And as you can see, 60, 17, 36, 27 wide receiver finishes. He shouldn't really be inside the top 10, but I just have a feeling coming off the bye, we didn't really get word as to what the personal issue was that held him out, but that often it feels almost scummy to say, but you usually see these players rally for whatever, or issue might be arising in their lives. They often use the football field as their escape, as their motivator. I wouldn't be shocked to see him against the Miami bad secondary. They should be good on paper. They're good, right? But they're giving up the third most points to receivers. So newsflash, they're not good. We just saw Marvin Jones put up 110 and a touchdown. I think Ridley's going to have a field day, have his best day of the season. Good coming out partying at 6,600 on DFS. Oh, easy smash. I want to love Terry, especially with a Jair-less secondary there for Green Bay. Should smash. So he's in my top 8. I'm a little bit nervous about Jamar Chase against Marlon Humphreys. As you can see, 3 spots below the ECR. Still love him. Since 2011, the number 2 receiver in yards per catch, 13.5 per reception. One of the best deep ball threats we've seen. And they're dialing him up deep 4 to 5 times a week, no matter what. Him and Burrow just have that lights out connection. But they are significantly better against outside receivers, Baltimore is, than the slot. So something to keep in mind. Then you got Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Good luck figuring out who's the best one. In the games they've played together, Antonio Brown actually leads the team in target share, yardage, all that stuff. I think he's the best play of these three guys. He runs the routes that Brady likes the most at the best rate. And Mike Evans, obviously the red zone beast each and every week, a great play. And Godwin probably going to lead the team in targets. Like, it's just throw your darts against the wall. All three could have big games. One might explode, but they're all worth your lineup attention. As is A.J. Brown this week. Julio not practicing. Kansas City giving up a shitload to every position, including wide receivers. A good spot here for A.J. Brown, coming off his best game of the season. What was it, 90 yards on 7 catches? Yeah, solid day. I think he's going to continue to get that going. I do also love, of course, Cordarrelle Patterson. As we said, Miami, very generous to running backs, third most there. Also very generous to wide receivers, third most there. And his touches continue to climb each and every week. I'm talking myself into him above maybe even Jamar Chase at this point. No fluke here. He is the real deal. Continue to pepper him. DK Metcalf, a disappointing first game with Geno Smith with 50 yards on 6 or so catches. It was tough to see, but New Orleans much more susceptible to wide receivers than they are the run game. Geno didn't look god-awful or useless. He didn't look good, but I think we could see DK rebound here. I do like in tier 3, so those are like your quality wide receiver ones, your elite wide receiver ones. Now we're moving into like high-end wide receiver 2 territory. I think Marquise Brown in a big rebound spot here. It is a little concerning. Bateman out-targeted him in their first game together, but LA, the Chargers, have been among the best teams in limiting big plays. Cincy, meanwhile, not so much. They are giving up the Bengals 21st, so pretty good, but over 15 yards per catch. That's bottom 10 right there. I think Marquise could do some damage deep. I think, Brandon Cooks could do some damage deep. He's had 30% or higher target share in all but one game, I believe, this year. So he had that little dud stretch against Buffalo, New England, but 2 of the tougher matchups you could ask for. Otherwise, rock solid. Arizona, pretty decent against wide receivers, but I don't get how or why they don't have anybody of note. Actually, 11th most points allowed. Yeah, fire up Cooks. No doubt about it. Get him in your lineups. Cortland Sutton, second most air yards in the league. What else needs to be said? When Judy comes back, it could be a little bit dangerous, but Browns, 5th most points to receivers. No reason to have anything but locked in status for your Thursday night game coming up tomorrow. Robert Woods against Detroit. Just a bad defense against a very good receiver who has had 2 or less catches in 3 of his 5 games so far. That happened only 3 times in all of last year. It's already happened 3 times in the first 7 weeks. Very concerning in that sense, but he's going to find the end zone. Let's be real here. Jalen Waddle showing a great rapport with Tua. Shoots him right up into my top 20 receivers against an Atlanta team giving up the 8th most points. He's going to dice him up. No doubt about it. And then Devonta Smith, disappointing week. Can't really argue anything otherwise against the Tampa Bay secondary that's been giving up, the 7th most points to receivers? Now he gets a Raiders team that's actually been pretty good, 27th. But the Slim Reaper was coming off games, as you can see right here, with 9 and 10 targets, 16 and 11 points. Was a solid PPR play. I think he remains a solid PPR play. It is a pretty big drop-off, as you can see at wide receiver, with these explosive offenses on bye. Like Pittman, now with some concern, seeing only 3 targets with T.Y. Hilton back. I do love Sterling Shepard. I don't think that Stephon Gilmore, even if he plays, will roam into the slot there. And now he's seen, I believe, 10 targets or more in every game he's made it through, 9, 10, 14. So 9 or more. Been a top 30 receiver in all those weeks, 10, 30, and 21. 13 or more points. I mean, beautiful stuff from Sterling Shepard in terms of consistency. Absolutely love the guy. Tony's expected to miss this week and possibly another, locking Shepard right in to the number 1 target there. Tyler Lockett against New Orleans. I'm nervous about his rapport. Whereas I think DK is going to be okay, that big body, the guy you can just kind of chuck to. A little bit nervous about Lockett and what this rapport with Geno Smith is going to be. Missed him wide open a couple times deep down the field. It's scary. I am nervous also about T. Higgins. I mean, Jamar Chase has taken away, obviously, Boyd's value, under 5 points in 3 or 4 games with all of them healthy. That sucks. T. Higgins, though, if he gets a touchdown and he's very good bet every week for a touchdown, okay. But outside receivers, as we mentioned, very tough Baltimore. Maybe I should be a little higher on Boyd, given he plays the slot, and that's where this team is most susceptible, but I'm not touching him this week. Do like Myers, who typically roast the Jets. I think week 1 was the first time he faced them this week. Yeah, only 6 fantasy points. Still hasn't found the end zone. Just kind of like blah. In fact, I probably prefer Mooney and even Callaway. As you can see, much higher on Callaway, but I do like Mooney. who has a 28% target share from Justin Fields, rather, since he took over. Tampa Bay, the 7th most points to receivers. You know they're going to need a throw. You know Mooney is the guy. So I like him. I love Callaway against Seattle. These are the 10th most points to receivers. As you can see, Callaway, 2 of his last 3 games, 12, 8, and then 23. Touchdowns in 2 of those last 3. I think he's starting to cook with gas a little bit. I think we're going to see all that preseason hype come to fruition these next couple of weeks. Look at these matchups the guy has. Seattle, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Tennessee, all bottom 7 teams against wide receivers. Lock him on in. Lock him on in. Christian Kirk against Houston. Again, we said Houston pretty good against receivers. He's as good of a bet as anybody to go deep, as is Corey Davis. And then you're getting into oh boy range. You know, Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow. Renfrow, the safest of the 2, but Ruggs getting deep last week, as you can see, bye week hell. Maybe you just want to toss in that Hail Mary for 17 points. Rondell, another Hail Mary. I mean, this is where we are, Hail Mary range. Odell, T.Y. As you can see, I remain so down on Allen Robinson. How could you not be? He has not finished as a top 40 receiver yet this year. 67, 45, 78, 51, 66, 46. Not a single game above 10 points yet. Last week's 53 yards were the second highest of the year. What an absolute and utter disgrace this year. Bateman, maybe you can stream him. Again, team high receiver target, 6. Very high participation, 67% of the routes. You can imagine that role will only increase as the season goes, and he just looks smart and heady as he did in college, knows how to find those soft spots, knows how to body up receivers and use that wiry frame. I have no qualms with you getting him in your lineups. It's still only 30% rostered. And if you're looking for an injection of upside, you know, Anderson and Ayuk, both guys that could go off this week against bad secondaries. In particular, Ayuk with no Kittle. Like, I kind of like rolling that dice with Jimmy Garoppolo back. I have a feeling he's going to go deep. I'm going to bump him up a little bit. And T.Y. Hilton, though, very encouraging first game, 80 yards, like looking like the T.Y. of old. But now he's dealing with a quad injury, might be out of the game. So keep that in mind. Last name, like way deep down here, but Donovan Peoples-Jones is a Hail Mary. Denver's a good secondary, don't get me wrong, but 16 points allowed to receivers, and Odell Beckham, very questionable for tomorrow. He might be the de facto number 1 DPJ. Yeah, it's Case Keenum, but DPJ was actually catching ball after ball from Keenum when he came in. 24 fantasy points last week. I mean, 2 touchdowns. Definitely needs to be on your streaming radar, especially if Odell Beckham misses the game. We'll wrap things up here with tight ends, then kickers and defenses. Looks like we're now up to about 35 questions. I love to see that, Wolfpack. Keep them coming in for me. As you know, I will answer everything that comes in. Let's get on in to these tight ends. You don't need me to explain why Travis Kelce against a bad secondary is the number 1 tight end. He's the number 1 tight end when he's facing the worst secondary matchup for tight ends. He's always going to be your number 1 guy. Andrews, though, now up to number 2 above Darren Waller for me. Cincy has been pretty good against everything, especially tight ends. 26 action now that I look at it. Doesn't matter for Andrews. Look at the guy. Look at how much he's been cooking these last few weeks. Touchdown, I think, in every single week. The past 2, rather. 36 points, 15 points. But he's got solid top 12 outings in all of his last 4. He's your number 2 guy this week. You don't need to overthink that one. This could be the week Darren Waller comes out and just smashes. Philly giving up the 8th most points to tight ends. One of the best buy lows in fantasy football, in my opinion, at this point. We know our guy Chase Market Gains wrote about that this week. Check that one out. We did see Kyle Pitts have his coming out party. Many will lob him up in that tier. I think with Ridley back, though, we can't just automatically assume we get another 22-point day, but he showed I am just a receiver labeled as a tight end. Miami, middle of the pack against the position. I do like him a lot. Noah Fant, though, with Alberto out, first game without him, look at his net numbers. 97 yards, TD, 20 points. The tight end won last week. Gets a Cleveland team that ranks, where are the Browns on here? 22nd. Pretty decent against the position, but nothing to fear either, in my opinion. Then you got Atlanta matched up with Gesicki, who is just Tua's boy. So they're an okay matchup, 19th point allowed for the position, mediocre. But Gesicki, I mean, I think it's 25, 30, and 28% target share. These last few weeks, 115, 16 PPR points. Look at that, 14, 14, 6, a little bit of a dud there, and 16. Tight end 5, 7, and 2. That's pretty damn good for Mike Gesicki here. Keep him rolling in your lineups, no doubt about it. I'm very intrigued to see what Dallas Goedert does in his first game back with no Zach Ertz. mean, this team ranks 4th in terms of tight end targets right now, and now he's going to have the monopoly on those looks. The Raiders, meanwhile, have given up. Where are the Raiders on this list? Number 6. Very generous in terms of points allowed to tight ends. Big fan of firing up him right away. And you got Ertz against Houston, giving up the most points to tight ends, the Houston Texans. Ertz, you saw Max Williams rack up 16 targets in a 4-week span. He's going to get used. They're going to want to get their new toy involved, and who better than a Texan team giving up the most points to the position. Yeah, he's a little bit dusty, Zach Ertz, but I think he's going to find the end zone this week. Solid play. I'd even have him in there above Tyler Higbee. So, yeah, Higbee gets Detroit. Certainly not a matchup to shy away from. 20th most points allowed in the position, so they've been okay against it. Similar to wide receivers, it's like you just don't throw against them that much. And Higbee has kind of been a little inconsistent, even though he's in one of those great offenses. One game with double-digit points? I don't know. I think he gets a little bit of name value and offensive value. I do love Ricky Seals-Jones. All but one snap, 141 of 142 snaps since Logan Thomas went down. Green Bay against tight ends are 14th. It's pretty generous against the position. They've been that much more generous since Jair went down. Solid play. Good bet for the end zone, as is Hunter Henry, who's now scored, I believe, in 3 straight weeks. Yep. 11, 17, and 10. Top 12 tight end in all of those. Top 10, 12 again this week. The Jets are actually pretty good against everything out wide, but 10th most points allowed to tight ends. Big day again for Hunter Henry, who's clearly head and shoulders above Jonnu Smith so far this season. If you're desperate for a streamer, though, I don't hate CJ Uzomah. Getting a Baltimore team that has surrendered the 3rd most points to the position, coming off a touchdown day 2 weeks ago, had 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's in a pretty good Bengals attack that's lighting it up. O.J. Howard didn't practice today, but neither did Gronk. This is, of course, assuming that Howard is the starting tight end. He is coming off a 649 touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 649, 1 TD. He was a tight end 4 last week. Looking like a monster after the catch. They're really getting in on this guy. So I'm a big fan of CJ Uzomah coming up this week. I mean, O.J. Howard, more so Uzomah. But, yeah, I'd have both those guys above Tunyon, who's really just been big player bust. And I think he's had 1 game with a big play. Look at these numbers. Pathetic. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. What? Ew. That is as bad as you can be. Like, how are we ranking this guy? Why do I have him in my top 15? I don't know. Need to reconsider that. I guess it's because look at the crap below him. Everett, Ingram, Mo Alley Cox. I actually do kind of like Mo Alley Cox for a touchdown against San Fran, even though they're 28th in terms of points allowed to the position. But, yeah, that's probably why I guess I have Tunyon hoping for a big, long touchdown here. Against a Washington bad team that just gives up. Washington bad team that gives up a ton of big plays to every position. And if you're really desperate, maybe just toss in Juwan Johnson and hope for a TD because he's been decent at those so far this year. Let's wrap things up, folks, before we get on to your questions here with our kickers and defenses, and then it's on to everything you need. So, obviously, Los Angeles Rams, getting Detroit. Like, what else needs to be said? At home. Arizona Cardinals, getting Houston. What else needs to be said? At home. Both of those guys smash plays. And then the Bats against the Jets at home. What else needs to be said? Yep. Got to kill them. Then we go further down the list. You got the Bucks at home. Pretty good defense. Not bad. Panthers against the Giants. On the road's actually pretty good there because Daniel Jones is somehow worse at home than he is on the road. I think the Panthers are going to get after this team that just lost their left tackle. We're going to see sacks. We're going to see interceptions. We're going to see turnovers. I think the Panthers are a shoo-in top 5 defense this week. Not far behind are the Saints. Getting Seattle, getting Geno Smith on the road, sure, but I like them a lot. I'm actually really into the Browns this week at home. I am a little bit worried that Case Keenum's going to do a lot of 3-and-outs, turn that ball over, and give it to the Broncos in decent position. But I think this team, not just long ago, had 16 points, like 9 sacks in a game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 9 sacks. Look at that. They've faced a couple really good offenses in the Chargers in Arizona, and they've sucked because of it. I think back at home, I think Garrett's going to have himself a field day against this bad offensive dinged-up line that just gave up 5 sacks, gave up multiple interceptions, fumble against the Raiders defense. That's just not that good. I think Cleveland's a better defense. Thursday night, I'm firing them up in like 5 of 6 leagues. So prayers up. Let's go Cleveland Browns, baby. And then you got Denver on the other side. I might even bump them above Cleveland. They're facing Case Keenum. Like, what's not to love there? Big fan of that. You got Ravens. Cincy at home, I might bump them with both those guys, to be honest. At home, Cincy, they just shut down the Chargers. So another defense I like. And then San Fran coming into Indy. I like Indy there. Actually, Indy's going on the road. Jimmy's back. 15-point day, but this is a tricky one. Their secondary is so bad, I don't really want to go there. Green Bay's had 7 points in 4 straight weeks. You're probably going to get 7 against Washington. Not a bad streamer. And you're getting down into pretty ugly range, but I don't hate the Giants, given how bad Darnold's been these last few weeks. If you're really desperate, look to them as an option. And then kickers, Tucker, Gay, Prater. You're top 3 every single week. I do love Nick Folk against the Jets. I think you're getting a nice 14-15 from him. Butker against Tennessee should be a cinch for points. Younghoe Koo, though, out there in a lot of leagues because he had the bye last week. Go and get your boy. He's a beast. And against Miami, they're going to have no problem getting into field goal range. One of my favorite plays of the week. I do love McManus. Got that big-ass leg. I think he's going to boot a couple 40-yarders for you. Jason Sanders, another good guy in this stream potential against Atlanta. I think between him and Koo, good matchup to target kickers. Don't hate Carlson, though. He's out there in a lot of leagues, too. Philly, whatever. You should have some points there. Never Crosby for me. I fucking hate Crosby. What a loser he is. Suck up Bullock. And then, come on, that's your top 12. You don't need more. But I do always want to highlight Joey, Big Leg Sly. And now that he has, what's his name? Jimmy Garoppolo back, I think they're going to move the ball a lot easier this week. And I think you could get a big game out of that big leg for Joey Sly. Alrighty, folks, that's it. We don't need to talk about kickers anymore. But what we do need to get into is mailbag. Let's hit it up, folks. Chris DeIndia, Wolfie, time to drop Fields? Yeah, I think so. I don't think Fields is that good either. I'm with you. He's not getting his reads. You see Allen Robinson streaking down the field, doesn't hit him. He's not running enough. Like the rub was always supposed to be like, even if he doesn't do great as a passer, he's going to run for 80 yards a game. Just not happening. The play calling's garbage. He doesn't look that good either. I think he's definitely droppable. If you have Kyler, yeah, no need to take up that bench space. 1-5 rolling in garbage with my 2 best players on bye. Schneider, this just season seems to be the pits for you, man. I think you got to just cut off your pinky and send it to the fantasy gods, and maybe that will turn it around. And if not, you at least inflict yourself some pain so you don't have to keep thinking about your fantasy team here. St. Brown got dropped by the number 1 person on the waiver wire, and I'm number 2. St. Brown? Is he that good? Like, why are we sprinting out to go get him? I've heard his name come up a couple times. Like, maybe he'll catch a touchdown, but I'm not into that. Good evening, Denny Jennings. Great to see you, brother. How do you think Eli Mitchell will do? New life. I talked about him earlier, but saw 80% of the snaps last time out. Only had 7 points, so it's like kind of like, is he that good? Even if he's getting the usage. But in bye week hell, he's in my top 16 running backs. So, I think he's going to be okay. 8 to 10 points. But it is a very good Colts run D. 28 points allowed. That linebacker core is stiff. So if I don't have to use him, I really don't want to. Start 2, Myers, Sutton, Lockett, Cooks, Patrick, Peoples-Jones. Can take risks versus a bottom 2 team in my dynasty league. You got to have Sutton in there. You got to have Cooks in there. And that's the 2 you need. If you really want a Thursday night dice roll, you can toss Peoples-Jones in there, but Sutton and Cooks are great options. So I'm going to go there, Michael Schneider. Drop Patrick for Bateman. He's been a very trustworthy flex. I agree, and I agree, Bakey. With Judy coming back, it could be tricky. I think Bateman has definite higher upside. So it's like, do you need Patrick to still be your flex? Because if so, let me take off this, remove that, so you can see this lovely face that you've been waiting to see. I think Bateman, it has far more upside. But if you need Patrick, he is by far the more usable guy right now too. So it depends on your team needs. Most situations, I'd rather have Bateman though, in my opinion. What up, Charlie? Great to see you. Always good chatting with you in those DMs. Need a running back in 2 flex. Javonte, Ramondre, Higgins, Callaway, RSJ. Oh, man. We're pretty gross here. I'm going to probably go Javonte at running back. I wish we knew if there was going to be any chance that Harris missed the game, because then Ramondre would be a pretty good play. Ramondre also did see 14% target share. That was the most since James White got knocked out. Got that kind of big James White role. Ooh. Charlie, be here tomorrow. Let's see if we get any news. That's when we got to wait out. I don't think you're going to start 2 running backs, though. So you need 2 flexes, and I don't think either of them is going to be a running back. I love Callaway this week. I'm rolling him out. I think we're getting deep on Monday Night Football. I'm in for Callaway show, baby. And then I kind of want to roll RSJ over Higgins. Good bet for the end zone, playing all the snaps. So give me Callaway, RSJ, Javonte as of right now. Getting Ridley, would you give up AB full PPR? I love AB. So I think most people would say yes. I think Ridley's one of the better buy lows right now. But yeah, I prefer AB. I really do. I just love AB. So most people would say buy low. If you want to listen to most people, go for it. F-ball. But I'd rather have AB myself. Better scoop up Ramondre and Jared Patterson before it's too late. I really think both those guys are great stashes. Roth. I think Harris is going to play, though, and he's going to kill the Jets. But I do think there's a really big chance that Gibson sits for at least this week, if not a while. You're thinking they even shut him down for the season. I don't expect that. But it is a lost year, so you never know. I think Patterson definitely worth seeing what happens here. McKissick, a must start this week, even if Gibson starts. I think so, Schneider. I think he is in a great position. Let me just fix my monitor here. Because the game script. As we've seen, the game script was right. He's had 15 or more points. I think you're going to get another one of those. 909 Orbits. What up, brother? Start 3 PPR. Pittman, Patrick, Bateman, Callaway. Or Collins if he plays. I think Collins if he plays is in there. So that's why you kind of want to hold this thing out. I would say, though, Pittman, Patrick, Callaway are my 3. I bench Bateman for now. Those are 3 good enough options. Should I play Higgins or Bateman, wide receiver 2? Ooh, that's tough, John. I think I just go for the touchdown with Higgins there. Jared Patterson, next 3 games, Green Bay, Denver, T-Bay, then the bye week. Is he even worth a stash? Those are tough matchups besides Green Bay. So I don't think it's worth a stash. I think it's worth a stream against Green Bay this week, and then it's probably tossing him to the wire unless it's better. I think Goddard's playing Sunday. I think so, absolutely. Felton worth the pickup since I lost Hunt. Maybe. Depends what the other guys are out there. I think, there's a lot of people I have above Felton in terms of like season-long value, but he is intriguing in that sense. So could be very active. We'll see. According to Dolphins reported, the Watson rumors are false. It was intriguing that all the Watson rumors came out from the Houston side. You definitely get the sense that Houston, the Texans, are trying to tip teams off and like get something going, and they're telling there's all the sources are coming out talking to McLean and those guys. We will see. Brian Griffin, what up, brother? Great to see you, man. Welcome to the show. And Wolf, double Wolves. Good to see you, Dylan Adams. Great to see you as well, man. Welcome on in. Hey, Wolf, hope all is well. Andres, thank you. I hope all is well with you as well. Stuck, Bench, Khalil, Collins, Michael Carter, Bateman, and 4 buys. You need to replace Dak and Schultz. Who do you drop? So how many? You got to drop 2 of them? I would probably drop Khalil, and hopefully that's the only one you have to drop, just because I think he's got 1 more week at most of relevancy, and against Tampa Bay, maybe not even that week. These bye weeks are killing me. Prebs, they're killing us all, baby. Killing us all softly. I have the option to trade Harris and Collins for Pitts. And you have Henry, J-Rob, Najee. I mean, you're not really going to ever use Harris or Collins, right? I don't know, though. We've only got 1 good game of Pitts. Like, could he just take that and light it on fire from here on out? Maybe. But that came without Ridley. Ridley's back. This is a tough one. I think you get more than just Pitts. See what else you can sneak out of that deal, because running back depth's at a premium right now, Andres. I think you can do better. It opened up a bench spot. So, yeah, I mean, I get your narrative here. But, yeah, it is fairly even. But, yeah, that's tough because, as you're saying, it does serve the purpose of opening up that spot and not having to drop anybody. Running back depth is such a premium, though. See if you can get anything bigger than just Pitts, because I'm still not 100% sold. I'm sold on the talent. I want to see the usage also with Ridley back. Maybe not a horrible trade, though. Madison, Deontay, and Ertz for Ridley. I like Deontay actually more than Ridley anyways, so you're giving up some valuable pieces. In addition to that, no thank you. Trayvon Wisco in 6. I don't even know who Trayvon Wisco is. Ward, give me some details. I can't help you there. The Half-PPR, Dearness, Marquise Brown, Shepard, Sanders, Khalil Herbert, or Waddle. You need 2. Going Marquise, and I'm going Waddle right now. So, yeah, I'm not playing Dearness over those 2 guys. And then if there's like Waddle not playing, things like that. But, yeah, Marquise and Waddle are my guys. Sutton, Sterling Brown. Sterling, A.J. Brown, A.B. Start 3. A.B. is my favorite. Sutton's right after. And I think I'm going A.J. Brown over Sterling there, Cody Hoxie. You got Lenny and Henry at running back. Callaway, Patrick at receiver. Need a flex between Carter or Gaskin. Pick up Johnson, the Browns running back. Parker, Hardman, or Robbie Anderson. Keenan Allen's on bye. I don't want to play Carter or Gaskin. I prefer the running back, the Browns running back. And if not him, I actually kind of like Hardman this week against that porous Tennessee defense, giving up a lot of big plays. But I prefer Johnson the most there. A. Aladdin. Would Watson start this year traded? I don't know. I don't know how this works, to be honest. Like, does he get a suspension? Is he allowed to even play? I'm just stashing him, Aladdin, just to see what happens because the upside is so real with this guy. Habermeal? I don't even know. Ward Willis, what are you saying? Need a wide receiver 2 desperately. Starting Mooney as your wide receiver 1 and can pick up either Ruggs, Hilton, Bateman, or Callaway. Which one should you go with? I like Callaway the most. I'm really into Callaway this week. Could burn me, but Chase, I'm going to be rolling him out. Let's do it together, baby. St. Brown that was dropped. Oh, Amon. Okay, that makes more sense. And even then, it's like, yay. I guess dynasty-wise, intriguing. He's seen 7+ targets in 3 straight weeks, but I'm not like sprinting and celebrating, the craziness here over Amon Ross St. Brown. Start Damian Harris or McKissick. I go Harris against the Jets. Full PPR, especially if Gibson's out, that will become a lot closer, Chase Brown. So let's check back in on Sunday, 11 a.m. Trade for Viverine. Trade Amari Cooper, Darrell Williams for Jamar Chase and Damian Harris. Yeah. I prefer Chase to Cooper. I think season long, I prefer Harris to Williams, even though you're going to get a couple good weeks for Darrell. Yeah, I would do that. You in leagues that veto? I think vetoes are complete bullshit, Boki. I think it's got to only be straight collusion. Like, it's not just somebody's getting the better end of the deal. Someone's always getting the better end of the deal of the trade. I think vetoes are so fucked up when, like, people are like, oh, that guy's for that cheap. Let me veto it so I can try to go make an offer. Complete horseshit. Unless it is straight up clear collusion, someone buying an injured player just to give another. I don't know. And there's very few, like most leagues, you got to think there's some integrity there. I think vetoes are the complete scum of the earth. People that allow vetoes and have vetoes in their league just because one player is getting the better end of the deal. That's how every freaking trade works. And a reminder, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up button for us, YouTube, Facebook, or if you're watching on Twitter and you don't mind hitting that heart button, retweet, shares, all that good stuff. Continue to help us get out to more people. It'd be so appreciated. Lobo Tomas from Panama. Great to see you. Fields for Jimmy G. I'd rather have Fields myself. The rushing upside, the facing Tampa Bay, they're going to need to chase points. I'm into it. Chase Edmonds, Harris, or Javonte Williams. Pick one, please, and thanks for Marco. I love Harris this week. Jets, second most points to running backs. He's getting into the end zone. He just had 100 and a TD against a very good Cowboys run D. I think he's going to eat up the Jets this week. 2, wide receiver 2, Bateman or Gage. Advice, por favor. De nada. Bateman for me. I don't want to trust Russell Gage ever. Goddard not at practice today. Still's got the illness. Thanks for the update, Denny. Think he should be back this week, but maybe he's not vaccinated. Maybe that's what's going on there. I don't know. Should he be out there? We'll see. Should DM you my redraft team to show you the trash I'm working with? Yeah, maybe, Schneider. Send it on over. Let's take a peek together. 2 flex spots. Damian Harris makes his occasional starts. I lucked out drafting Sutton, Debo. Oh, look at those receivers, Andres. Probably just keep the RBs and take the L. You got such good depth. Like, you could do better, I think. Unless your tight end's horrendous. If you're starting a really bad tight end, then you got to consider it. Because he could blow up Pitts down the stretch here. Jamal W. versus Hines. Oh, God, Tomas. There's no, there's got to be something on waiver wires better than that crap. I'm trying to think of some of my favorite, Hail Mary guys this week. It's like any of the Seattle guys, like DJ Dallas, I'd rather have. Maybe just stash Jarrett Patterson to see if Gibson's going to miss some time. That's pretty bad. Felton tomorrow, any of those guys better than those options. Corey Davis or A-Rob, full PPR. Oh, God, no, too. I'm going to go Corey Davis, but I don't love it. If we keep saying if everyone's going to be weak for A-Rob, right? I don't keep saying that. A lot of people keep saying that. I've been done with A-Rob since week 2 or 3. I'm just done with him. I'm never going to recommend him. This should be the week, right? But I'm not going to go in and buy that. Trade Waller for Williams and Schultz or Knox. Yes. 100% if you're getting Williams and Schultz or Knox. Either one. Yes. Yes, Mike Clay. Alex Collins or Tim Patrick. PPR. If Collins is playing, I think it's him. But Tim Patrick has been damn steady. And the Browns are giving up the 5th. I'd play Patrick because you're going to have to wait that one out. And then it's like, who's your next man up? Patrick should be fine tomorrow. Playing Callaway 2 Wolf. Let's go, Prebz. Y'all don't forget to like. I appreciate that, Prebz. Helping pump up the numbers, pump up the crowd. Get those thumbs up in, people. It really does help us out more than you guys know. And if you like what you're hearing, turn on the bell. We'll be live every day, 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. Sunday, and the occasional show. Would you drop Ayuk to stash Watson? That's too much upside for me. Drop your kicker and let's see what happens. And if Watson's not traded, cut him later. But no need to hang on. I would want to see what Ayuk does this week. Stevenson and Bateman worth a start this week. Not really, unless you're desperate. They could be. I wouldn't be shocked if either found the end zone. Rank these wide receivers for you this week. Waddle's my favorite. Then Devonta and Mooney are like neck and neck. Bateman would be my fourth. I do really like Bateman, but he did just only have 4 for 29. Like, let's see something if you can. You had some good options to be able to see something here. He'll start this week with Najee and J-Rob on bye. I'll go QB, tight end, D. Yeah. You got Schultz. Yeah, Schultz is great. You got a good option there. I don't know if you need to do that. Last one, Lobo. Craig Zerlin, but he's on bye. Yeah, you got to drop him. You never have two kickers. Absolutely, Thomas. AB does have the ankle injury. I have no read on the situation. My guess is he plays Fear Stark. But we will, of course, we have the Thursday night show tomorrow for some sit starts, and we'll be live on Sunday a.m. As long as he plays, he's my top 10 receivers. I love AB. Haven't started A-Rob since week 2, Dut? Yeah, absolutely. And I even started Corey Davis. Yeah. I have Bateman also, so the question should have been Bateman or Davis. I still go Davis. He's been pretty solid most of the time. Gracias por todo. Always. De nada por todo. Mr. Tomas. Send it to you. Yeah, shield my eyes. I'll get the puke bucket ready. Goddard is vaccinated. They just haven't reinstated him. So he should be okay, Denny Jennings. Thank you for the vaccination reports out there from Philadelphia. Trade Hurts, Robbie Anderson, Chenault, and Devontae Booker for Kupp and Russ. Oh, yes. 100% Madden. I'm always a huge fan of trading mediocre to trash players, which most of this is, to get a stud like Kupp. Absolutely. Always, buddy. I appreciate you being here, Andres. Corey Davis, AJ Green, give me Corey Davis. Jeff Wilson, we're stashing 14-man with no IR slot. The IR slot obviously makes it more palatable. I think absolutely, except the latest report says he's not going to be back till the end of November, so you're still waiting another month. And if you don't have the IR spot, that's even tougher to do. Down the stretch, again, I want to keep reemphasizing. San Fran gets Tennessee, Atlanta, Houston. I mean, that is the 3 possible easiest matchups you could ever ask for in the fantasy playoffs. So this guy was a league winner last year, could be it again. But still, it's a tough bench spot in a 14-teamer. Think the injury to Mooney will affect him much? I don't think so, Inceptivus. What was the injury? It doesn't seem like it's anything too serious. Trying to Khalil Herb and Collins for Pitts, but yeah, that's it. I'll see if you can do that, because those guys are running out. The pumpkin's going to come. The silver, the time's going to run out. You're welcome, Denny Jennings. Thank you again, guys, so much for being here. You can find these rankings at roasterjournal.com, where we breed and feed you fancy wolves, or on our iOS app. Check it out. Cleanest form of our content. We'll be live again, me and the truth. Thursday night football kickoff, baby. Have some beers with us. Get ready for this Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater barn burner, folks. But it would be awesome to have you join there, answer some questions. And, of course, if you liked what you saw and you haven't already, giving it that thumbs up, liked, subbed, hit that bell so you know when we're live would be so appreciated. So thank you again, guys, so much for being here. I'm the Wolf. You can find me at RotoStreetWolf on Twitter. Best of luck this week. Hope to see you later on in another stream. And thanks again. In a world full of fancy sheep, guys, be that wolf.